Hi, this is Jeff White with Life and Living Now and Versatile Fighting Arts. And I wanted to talk just very briefly about designing the perfect lifestyle for you. It's your life, and you kind of need to decide how you want to live your life. What are your values? What are your goals? How do you want to be in this life? And those are all things we get to choose. If we leave it to happenstance, then you will still develop much more slowly. But if you can be more intentional about your development and the kind of life that you wish to create, because remember, we are creative creatures. Our thoughts and our words have creative power. So as we begin to build this life, we can create a life that pleases us. We can create a life that is full of purpose. We can create a life that has energy to it. And as I mentioned, purpose is a big part of that. So kind of looking at some ideas, and I'll write more on this, but this has kind of really dropped into my spirit today and wanted to kind of just pass this along. So just think about this. You've got a world that's filled, just brimming with possibilities. That it has competing demands. There's lots of inputs, lots of options that we could employ in our life. In many cases. Now, in other cases, we feel like there isn't any options available for us. We're stuck in a routine. We're stuck in a rut. None of that is actually true unless we imagine it and believe it to be true. And then for us, it is. It doesn't mean that as you create this lifestyle that there's not a lot of hard work involved and a lot of soul searching and having to work on yourself and also the skills that you're going to need to be able to have the kind of life and lifestyle that you wish. You have to decide what it is that's going to, what's your purpose? What's going to help create that lifestyle? And it should come from a place very deep inside. And I talk a lot about living from this state of original self. So that you're living from this idea of I am whole and I am spirit and I am one with everything at my deepest core level. And then let that also inform your decision making. So when we're crafting this lifestyle, that we want it to align perfectly with your values. Remember, this is your life. So you want your lifestyle to align with your values. You want it to align with your goals. You want your happiness to be derived from your lifestyle. And a quick little interjection here. I do make a difference between joy and happiness. Joy is the state that we are in our natural original state. There's always this sense of bliss, this sense of vibrant peacefulness and vibrant joy that's down deep, and you can see it in somebody's eyes, and they always seem to be loving and happy, and unless there's something happens that shuts that down, but they live from this, not Pollyanna, but this deep place of joy. Happiness tends to be a little more experiential. Kind of based more on the events that happen around us. And so I do make those distinctions, and I do think that you can have both. I think joy is more permanent. Joy is more important than happiness. Joy is longer lasting. But we do want both. And by living a life of purpose and creating a lifestyle that aligns with our values and our goals, we achieve that, both a sense of joy as well as a sense of happiness. So in our life, you have all these competing demands, and so you really need to spend some time, or I encourage you to spend some time to really kind of assess what are your values and your goals. It's an art to creating your lifestyle as well as a journey. So it's not necessarily going to be perfect. You don't want to wait for it to be perfect. You begin and you walk as far as you can see. And then, as it was said, once you know better, once you see more, now you can adjust your perspective. I understand more. My wisdom has increased. So now I can adjust my journey. and I can adjust the art with which I affect this journey that I live in my life. So understand this is both a journey as well as an art form. The perfect lifestyle is never a one-fits-all. I cannot tell you, I can tell you what my lifestyle is like, but it doesn't mean that it's perfect for you. You have your own, because you have your own interests, your own values, your own hierarchy of values. You have your own drive, your own motivations, those things. So you create the lifestyle that fits for you. You want it to be dynamic. You want it to be a creation that you have created that's tailored to you. So here's a couple of ideas that you can use to help design that kind of life that gives you that feeling of the being fulfilled, being purposeful, and that is uniquely yours. And that's important. If you feel like you're just a cog in a machine, then there's be something lacking with that. If you feel you are a vibrant mechanism, still can be part of the overall scheme of things, but it is uniquely yours. You're there with purpose. I once took a job in kind of this stepping out of a career I'd spent 30 plus years, and a very successful career, and kind of a step down into retirement, at least from that business. I took a job doing basically amounts to data entry, but I was working in the clerk of courts, and I got moved to civil, and all we did was just input lawsuits all day. And there was a coworker where she got hired, went through training, and she would just bubble. And I asked her, I said, "How are you enjoying it?" She goes, "I was made for this." See, she has found at this stage in her life what works for her. It may not be the same for somebody else, right? So I think first, in looking at your life and trying to design a life that is uniquely yours, you need to have a handle on what are your core values. You need to define what those values are. So you start by truly asking yourself, right? Or start by asking yourself what truly matters to you. Family, personal growth, creativity, health, success, adventure, integrity, knowledge, wisdom. All these are values. And you need to decide which values do you live by? What are important to you? And your lifestyle should reflect these values. Now, I would suggest you write them down and let them serve as kind of your compass for decision making. Also, it's important to understand there's a hierarchy of values, and you need to determine for the most of your life, what are those hierarchy of values? Where do you value truth above relationship? Do you value health above profit? All right, or security? And the answers to those will create a different timeline or a different trajectory into how you want to live your life. And it doesn't mean that it's right or wrong. There are more skillful hierarchical alignments, I believe, and less skillful. But it also determines, it has to be determined upon what you view at this point in your life, what your values are, and then, what are those hierarchy of values? A good question to ask yourself is to, kind of test yourself. Say, if I had a choice between an advancement at work in which I needed to say, this is pretty common, I would have to lie about, something that I did or a coworker. But if I threw a coworker under the bus, I would get the promotion. Is it honesty or is it ambition? Greed, or is it still fulfillment to the next step? It can get complicated. But when you take it down to your values and see, what do I value most? How do I feel about me at the end of the day? How did I align with my values? And did I align with is the hierarchy of my values in line with how I feel at this moment? And if it is, you move forward. If it's not, then you change your activity to meet your values. So look and see what your values are. Write them down. Create a hierarchical list of where you feel your values are. Now, they will change as you grow, as you evolve. Then those ideas will change. this hierarchy may change. They may not, all right? But I have found in my life, and at different stages in my life, then I valued growth, and personal growth was always a big thing with me. So personal growth was always going to be up high. Ambition, building a business, providing service to my clients, those were high. Sometimes I had to choose between personal growth and taking care of clients. And sometimes taking care of clients was deemed to be, because the work that I did was very time sensitive, then I had to set everything aside and I focused on the clients. Other times I just realized I was out of balance and I needed to focus on personal growth, and so I would take that time and I would focus on personal growth. You can allow your decisions to knock on the doors of those principles that you have and stand account of them. So I want to look and see, do my actions line up with my values? And they're your deeply personal values, not necessarily what society may tell you should feel. And now I'm not talking about things that are not ethical or things that are illegal. I'm just saying you need to understand what could be social pressure and what is your walk. And then you walk your walk. So, identify your core values. Write them down. Identify the hierarchy of your values. Then set clear and achievable goals. Now, goals are kind of an interesting thing, and I was very big on goals for a lot of my business life. It is what helped grow the business. It is what helped keep things organized in my head. And even as I moved into other areas of passion with the martial arts and I expanded that in my life, I would also have goals for each one. I would have objectives that I wanted to achieve. So when you envision your life, then you want to live it in detail. So you wanted to have an idea of where are you, what are you doing, how do you feel, and then you can break this vision down. So really get a vision upon who you are as a person, what kind of life that you're living. Where are you living? How are you living? How are you feeling? And then break that into short-term and long-term goals. And whether it's building a career that you love, maintaining a healthy work-life balance, fostering meaningful relationships, those are all goals, objectives that you can have. And you want to create this plan to be able to enhance and arrive and achieve those objectives. And you want to enhance the work-life balance if that was an objective. How can I better enhance this, get a better handle, and put that into action? If I wanted more meaningful relationships, if that was important to me, all right, how am I going to go about doing that? How can I improve myself as a person to attract better relationships into my life? Those are all good. I have found that goals, when I was setting, I would do goal setting for my team members, with the agents in my company, and I learned after several years of doing group goal setting that people are we would sit down, we would have a group goals, and I would meet with each one, and we would set individual goals. And what would happen would be at the end of the whatever time, the agents that I trained would pretty much produce according to what they truly felt in their heart was what they were capable of doing, regardless of the goal. Some that were very exterior validation driven, then they would work harder to meet a goal. It would be more of a stretch, but it almost always over time would settle back into what they felt that they could achieve. And that's very true. So we never rise higher than our vision. It's the vision that we have of our life that allows us to step in and create that reality and that manifestation in this plane. So which brings us to a point, because every creation there's two creations. There's always one on the inside. There's the internal. It's your vision. And then you make it a reality and you manifest it. So there's always those two. So you want to have a strong vision for yourself. And if your life is lacking in direction and motivation and purpose, I would first posit it's because you lack vision. And you have to develop this vision crystal clear of what it is that you want. once had a relationship with somebody. They wanted to be a photographer, and they were, wanting to go. The school for photography was like $20,000 a year. It was a very high-end school. And so I wrote an article, and I also did a talk, and I allowed her, listen to this talk about, do you have a passion for what you are doing, that you want to, involve yourself in things that you have passion for, that you would live and die for, and that's where you want to devote your life. And and she read it, looked at me, and goes, I don't have that kind of passion. And I knew at that point, then she would never truly take off in a career in photography, or it would never be, even if she did, may not be as fulfilling. Those people who are truly passionate about it, then they love it, and they live and breathe this stuff, and it shows. And so you want to have this passion, and then from that you set objectives, both short-term and long-term, about how to achieve those objectives. Now, the other part I also do think that it's important is you need to balance your work with your rest and your play. And there are three very distinct and important facets to this. And they're all one, but you have the work that we do, and whether it's the work that you're doing for money or the work that you're doing for passion. You have rest, which is a very active part of the rest activity cycle, and then play. And the perfect lifestyle has to be sustainable. It has to be something that you can do over and over again and not get burnt out, which means it has to have balance. So you need to prioritize rest and leisure as much as productivity. I learned this after going through, I was a workaholic, and I had a passion for it, and I loved what I did. I had a passion for it, loved what I did. It seldom felt like work until our industry started to change in the last, maybe 7 years that I was in it. And it became it was just not as pleasurable as it was. But because of my workaholic tendencies, I would pour myself into the things that I loved and had passion for. But it also meant that I would not get the rest that I needed. So I learned through burnout that I needed to have the rest. In that particular career, it was lauded you never have any. You're on 24/7. You never have any downtime. And it's a fallacy that created a lot of burnout, and I think a lot of alcohol abuse within a lot of people in the industry, a lot of divorces, those kinds of things, because I was a realtor, so we always just raised our hand and said, you call me at 10 o'clock at night, I'm there. And that's wrong. I don't call my attorney at 10 o'clock at night. I don't call my doctor at 10 o'clock at night unless I have an emergency. And in real estate, there were seldom any real emergencies. I don't call my dentist at midnight at 10 o'clock, but I'd get texts at 10, 11 o'clock and people wanting to call and talk. And and it didn't bother me for a long time because it's a lifestyle, it's part of what you do. But it also meant that I was not focusing on myself and allowing myself to rest. When I started to take vacations and had no work involved, then I would come back energized, refreshed, ready to go. And so this was very important. So I just kind of discovered this by halfway through my career, and so I started making some changes. But you need to make it sustainable. You need to prioritize your rest and your leisure just as much as you do your productivity. It's good to actually put in your vacation days first on your calendar and then build your life around that. So make time for the activities that recharge you, whether it's out going for a walk, whether it's basket weaving, bridge, doesn't matter, whether it's chess, whether it's working out. I used to love going into the gym. Martial arts became a big one. Meditation, whatever it may be, whatever feeds you, make time for that. Make time for the activities that recharge you. Make time for the hobbies that make you smile. My wife loves to garden, and she creates these beautiful gardens that we have, and it makes her happy. It wears her out, but it makes her happy. Loves it. And it's those connections with those things that give you purpose and feed your soul that nurture you. Now, the next part is you have to have action. So create daily habits that reflect your lifestyle. So lifestyle just doesn't happen by accident. It has to be intentional. So you decided you've identified your core values. You've created this hierarchical list. You have set objectives for what do you want to achieve. You're looking at balancing that work and that rest and that play. Now you need to create daily habits that support that lifestyle. So do you want better health? Do you want to build a morning routine with maybe some exercise, change your diet, wholesome food? I used to get up in the mornings and 5, 6 o'clock, go work out for an hour and a half. For a while during my heavy running days, for a while I would get up, I would run 3 miles to the gym, I'd work out an hour and a half, I'd run 3 miles back. Well, I don't do that now. I have more ease into my day. My day begins with meditation. It will begin with Qigong. It begins with study. It begins with a good, wholesome breakfast. I watch my diet. We try and limit the sugars and the sweets and those things because I do value health. As I hit, there's a study that came out, and I resonated with that study a lot. And it said that especially with males, but also adults, you have 2 ages at which your life takes significant steps. You feel it in your body, you can feel it in your mind, and that's age 44 and age 60. And I had both of those, and I remember about age 44 to 45. Now, I also had quit doing my long-distance running, and I immediately gained like 20, 30 pounds. And it wasn't, part of it was diet, yes, but, and the lack of, I was no longer running 7 miles a day and 2 to 4 hour runs on the weekend. I was, just working out, doing normal. But I noticed the metabolic shift happened. And again, at about age 60, it did it again. And so we want to be aware of that, but we want to adjust our lives, and if we need to start eating better, eat better. Do we need to seek more mindfulness? Is that a habit? Then try meditating, try journaling. You want to build into your life activities that help support your values and your objective, your vision for yourself, the lifestyle that you want to create. If I say I want a lifestyle that I have energy and vibrancy and good health, and and I'm kind and I'm loving, but I don't do things that help support that, and so I don't sleep well, I don't eat well, and I don't exercise, and I gain weight and I feel poor, my health is bad, and then that affects my mental state, and now I'm not feeling good about anything. I'm not living the lifestyle, and I can say, well, it just didn't happen. No, you have to create activities and put them into your day consistently that supports your lifestyle. So consistency is an absolute key with this as well. You have to be consistent. It is a daily thing. So often when we are creating this lifestyle, clarity sets in. As we start looking at our core values, and we start to work on the hierarchy of values, and we see, okay, maybe I thought this had a higher value, but in truth, maybe it's down here. Do I want it down here, or does it need to be elevated? Okay, what decisions do I make that then align with my new hierarchy of values that I aspire to? All right, it gives you clarity, gives you greater wisdom. It can also give you greater joy. Now, another thing that happens, just as kind of a byproduct of this, it seems to be, that in many cases you decide that you want to simplify your life. So much going on, I just want to focus on what I want to focus on. So you begin to declutter. So, at that point, you declutter your physical space. You start saying no to things that do not support the lifestyle that you wish. You start looking at your own thoughts, and you start to simplify your thoughts and declutter the mental confusion, the 60,000 automatic thoughts that go through our head. So you want to declutter all that. And when you find that when that happens, you feel better. You think more clearly. You act more decisively. You move with greater intention and greater power. So you want to focus on the people and the pursuits that bring value and happiness to your life. That becomes important. You want to declutter, say no to those things that don't support your lifestyle. You may need to say no to old actions that were unhealthy. Perhaps you drank too much, so maybe you were using recreational drugs, And there comes a time when you need to set those down, where it's beneficial to set those down, or to stop the drinking, or to lessen it. You decide. It's your journey, what you want to do, but you want to look at those things that are hindrances. Look at those things that become obstacles. Clear those out of the way. You want to fill your life with things to support the lifestyle, the vision that you have for your life. And the last is stay grateful. Those are lessons that you hear a lot about. You don't always think it matters as much as it does, but over time I have noticed this attitude of gratitude. It's being thankful for what's in your life. It increases those things that are good in your life. What you're grateful for then expands. Alternatively, the principle is what you focus on expands. So if I focus on fear, if I focus on negativity, if I focus on being a victim, if I focus on things that are negative, that negativity is going to grow. And even though, I'm trying to live better and I'm trying to have a more fulfilling, purposeful life, if I'm still focused on these weeds in my garden, it's going to hinder and hamper the growth that I want. So I want to clear those out of the way. And it's a good analogy as a garden. Not that I know that much about it, but from looking at it, when you plant, but as you nurture that soil, you turn the soil, you give it nutrients, you give it the best opportunity for that plant to take off, and the plant still has to decide if it wants to live or die. But as you clear the weeds out of the garden, you make sure it has sunshine, you create the environment for it, you continue to maintain, you remove the obstacles that would hinder its liveliness. And that's what we do in our life. You get rid of those obstacles. So be thankful. And gratitude is that secret ingredient to happiness. Focus on what you're thankful for. Focus on what you are grateful for. Have this attitude of gratitude for the things that come into your life. Regularly acknowledge what's working well in your life and celebrate those things. Be happy for yourself. And also, take stock every so often. See where you are. Congratulate yourself. Make the adjustments. Focus on the positives. Be aware of negatives. Focus on the positives, though. I always look and say, what am I doing right? Awesome. Okay, what do I need to improve in? Okay, let's improve on those. Let's go back to what am I doing right? I end on that high note. So, designing this perfect lifestyle, it's a process, it's a journey. It's not about perfection. It's about evolution and growth. It's about creating a life where you feel authentic and you feel empowered and you're at peace. And that sense of peace is it's so valuable. So it's a continuous journey of self-discovery and refinement. And it's all shaped from your passions and your priorities. So think about today. What's a step that you could take that moves your vision of where you want your life to be closer to reality? And then make that happen. So some thoughts to think about. Thank you. Have a great day, and I look forward to talking with you another time.